Are you ready for today's lesson?
Olay.
Short.
Short? I'll do my best.
Oh, short.
Oh, not sure?
No, I'm sure.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, sure. Okay. Okay. Maybe my ears were, I don't know. Maybe I need a haircut. Do I need a haircut? We're going to talk about spiritualism some more, but we're going to draw from an unlikely source. Spiritualism boasts these natural principles, these principles of nature, and their idea of, most of them, I should say, most of their ideas about natural principles is stuff that seems logic to them. Like the natural principle of forgiveness. Is that a natural principle? Anybody? Maybe not.
I'm trying to think if there's anything in nature outside of a human that does forgive.
Yeah.
It's hard to know because there's so many types of sentient beings.
Well, think of it like this.
Does a plant forgive me when I, dead head, a dead bloom? I don't know. And it hurts it? I don't know.
What is the one thing that forgiveness requires? Which is something that most people overlook. You have to do this before you can forgive somebody. Any thoughts?
Empathize, she said.
That's closer to today's lesson. You're on track.
I would say a sense of having been done a wrong.
Judgment.
Okay, judgment. That much less syllables in that one.
Yeah, you have to make a judgment against somebody in order to forgive them. You know what happens in the realm of nature? Well,
I don't think there is judgment.
Exactly what Beth said. Does the plant get upset with her when she deadheads it?
I don't know, but I imagine because I do it so roughly we could.
Yeah. But it just accept it. When you look at nature, whatever happens to them, they just accept it and go on. Doesn't mean they forget about it. Yeah, they can learn a lesson. They can avoid certain animals or whatever, but they accept it. So we're going to talk a little bit about natural principles, and we're going to draw from Frans de Waal's The Age of Empathy, Nature's Lessons for a Kinder Society. And we're going to begin with all of nature. All nature can offer is information and inspiration, not prescription. The principles of nature can inspire you to do something, can explain to you why this is happening to you, but nature cannot fix it for you. So that's one of the most important things we have to keep in mind. Nature cannot fix anything, but nature can inspire you and show you. And we're going to start with leadership. Or I should say, the natural principle of politics. Yeah. Ugh. I saw that shrug. Kids back there just, oh. But politics is about leadership. And leadership is about power. And, Frans de Waal is a primatologist. I think that's what they're called. He studies primates. So strong individuals, whether their strength is mental, physical, or emotional, brings community responsibility. Meaning leadership brings community responsibility. And within the primates, and this is obviously something we don't see around here, or I should say in our world right now, but within the primates, alpha males and alpha females maintain social stability. Wow, what a concept. Social stability? And they do this by taking on policing responsibilities. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Ray?
I agree with that.
Yeah?
I mean, you take a private lions or anything like that, or a group of apes, there's always, usually the females are in charge, but there's a sense of order, and they work as a group, and they don't consciously work as a group, they work as a group because innately it's for the betterment of all of them. They don't think, I'm gonna be the leader today, but somehow one evolves to be the leader. And you would have chaos if they didn't work together.
Absolutely. What does every relationship require? Well, yeah, compromise, but
Division of labor.
division of labor. What else? Unity. I've got a couple here. I've got a couple here. What's required to have a good relationship? Trust,
Communication.
communication. But someone is always,
In charge?
yeah,
Yeah.
someone is always the leader. Someone is always in charge. Now, this isn't to say that it doesn't float back and forth. But typically, in every relationship, whether it's friends, couples, whatever, there's always one person that's typically the leader. Yes? No? What are your thoughts, Sandy?
I guess so.
You guess so.
Sure that's true. About the, one leading and the other leading at different times.
Now, we're not talking about leading and
Well-
following or dominance and submission. We're not talking about that.
No.
We're talking about exactly what Ray described, which is for the good of those involved. There's always someone who knows a little bit more than you do. While I like to say I know everything, but there's always someone who knows a little bit more than I do. There's always someone who gets it a little bit better than I do. But does that mean they dominate me? No. Because what is it that a good leader does? It's a cliche.
Well, it brings out the best and everybody else that in that group.
Precisely. And why? Anybody?
It just makes a better group.
Well, yeah, it makes a better group. But what is it that the leader is doing? And everybody's watching?
Leading by example.
Leading by example, yes. Leading by example. Those are usually the best leaders. With couples, whoever's leading, the other is following their example. as Ray put it, with the group. They all just work together. It just works out because they're following an example. It's not that they're following the leader, they're following the leader's actions. If, just briefly, if we look at our political system right now, it's in chaos. Why? Because everybody wants to be the leader. And when you have a bunch of alphas working together, what do you get?
Big cat fight. Fur flying. Gnashing of teeth. A lot of bloody wounds.
So, but a lot of that is because there's no leadership. There always has to be leadership. That's why we're taught the fatherhood of God. The leaders all should be working together. But now we're getting away from what it is that we're supposed to be looking at. So the idea of a natural leader, no, natural leader is not it's not the right way to put it. But the idea of the principle of politics is that those who have the power, those who are strong in mental or physical or emotional abilities, or all three, should be serving the community. I think Jesus put it nicely. The leader serves everybody else. Because what did Jesus do?
Wash the disciples' feet and anointed them.
Mm-hmm. What did Buddha do? What does a teacher do?
Ask questions of the students.
Yeah.
What did Buddha do? I know nothing about Buddha. What did Buddha do?
Show us the way. Show us the way.
Exactly. He showed us the way. And the only way you could show the way, is by example and by guiding others. And if you're guiding others, you're serving them. What is it that I do on Sunday mornings? I serve you. A good leader serves those that are around them, serves the community, because they're essentially responsible for the community. And one of his stories, and one of Franz's stories, he talks about some immature primates bullying a duckling. That's what it amounted to, bullying a duckling. So this alpha male comes up to them, scoops the duckling up, and flings it out to the water. Yeah, probably could have done it a better way. But the idea here is that they were bullying a creature that they felt was inferior to them. And the alpha male, or it could have been a female, didn't like that. Because it's the wrong thing to do. The responsibility of a leader is to maintain harmony in the group, or the community, or the tribe. It's to maintain harmony. So what are your thoughts about that? Cindy?
I think I don't think they have to think about it. I think
They just do it. And she's probably right. I don't know, but she's probably right. Let's look at another one. I don't know what principle to name this. However, the desire to care for others is a natural impulse. This is clearly an indication of being empathic, or an indication that empathy, and I think Sandy brought this up, is natural. So, Sandy, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I agree, it's essential, I think. I don't know, I'm a person who tends to look at things from others' points of view and, tries to understand, where other people are coming from, so that's just a real natural thing. That's kind of my way of living, I would say. So, that's a very natural thing for me, the desire to care for others. That's me, that's kind of my take on life.
It's natural. How about you, Beth?
I know there's interspecies demonstrations of that.
Yes, there is.
I just read one recently. I don't think, whatever random thoughts I come across during the week lead up to our Sunday lesson. A toddler, a 2-year-old, fell into a gorilla enclosure at one of our big zoos, and I think was knocked unconscious or whatever, and the lead gorilla went over, scooped it up, and handed it off to a keeper.
Wow.
There's the story of, I heard this gentleman speak. He's like one of the very few people who've survived a suicide jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. What's his name? Kevin something. Lands in the water, breaks nearly every bone in his body, and a sea lion comes up and keeps nosing him up at the surface so he doesn't drown until rescuers were able to get to him and pull him out.
It's weird. It's real.
Wow.
Why is it weird?
Well, because you wouldn't think that an animal, a creature like that, would do something. How do they know? How do they know that? But obviously they have a sense that we don't understand, and then they would do something. They would do something like that. It's just very strange.
Very strange. I'll share with you something that's very strange. Children are more apt to reach out and help people than adults are. What are your thoughts about that one, Ken?
Oh, sounds good. But children are unencumbered
Yes.
by 30, 40, 50 years of learning prejudices and fear of rejection. I mean, sometimes people won't help somebody else because they think they're overstepping their bounds. They're the person they're assisting may misinterpret it, but kids don't know that. Kids know you need help and they help, and there's no in their mind there's no fear of I will be misinterpreted or I will be rejected or because of what I do. They do it like the seal does it because it is the right thing to do.
Exactly. It is the right thing to do. I think I'll call this the natural principle of cooperation. And Ray hit it right on the nose. We are taught not to be helpful. We are taught that. And in some instances, it's probably beaten into us. Now that's what I find weird. That's what I find strange. How did we survive so long? Because the only way we could have gotten a footholding is through cooperation. Now here's an interesting thing that came to me earlier this morning. Survival of the fittest. Most people have misinterpreted that whole concept because they say survival of the fittest is a single being, a single entity, a single person. However, when a herd, whatever animal, is running across the ground, which one gets nailed?
The one the best.
Slowest.
The slowest.
Yeah.
So survival of the fittest is the community. I don't know if I read this story in his book or if I read it someplace else. But there was a dumpster and rancid meat was thrown in it. And I think it was baboons or orangutans. I don't know. I think it was baboons because I think they're meat eaters. Anyway, they ate it up. And you know, the nice thing about alphas is they've always got to be first. Now, this tribe consumed bad meat. What do you think happened?
They get sick.
Yeah, they got sick.
Probably died, some of them.
Which ones?
The leaders. The ones who ate it
First
first.
ones?
More than that.
I wonder if they let the young ones eat first.
Nope,
Nope.
nope. The pecking order is still there. There's always a pecking order.
So the males probably died first.
Which males?
But the oldest ones.
Nope.
They let the
Which males?
Alpha.
The alpha males. Do you know why the alpha males died off?
they ate it first.
They were all it. Those males that had established relationships survived. Survival of the fittest? Only those who have relationships survive. What a concept. What a concept.
You mean the single baboons? The ones who had not found a mate? Is that what you mean?
Not necessarily the ones who had not found a mate. You're misinterpreting relationship. Good leaders curry favors, establish relationships. Bad leaders separate themselves from everybody else because in their opinion they're all it. Those were the ones that died because they had no one there to care for them. However, the ones who had established relationships were cared for. See how that works? So this leads us into the last one. Now I gotta start wrapping this up. Emotional expression and interaction is essential to achieve a healthy state. Means if you're PO'd, what are you supposed to be doing? What happens if you keep it inside?
Just be working it out.
Working it out. And how do you work it out?
Talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody. Interactions. Interactions. Social interaction is also essential to a healthy state of well-being. So what's that say to you? Before I forget, I'll begin with Sandy.
Can you repeat what you just said again? Because it cut out a little.
Okay, what did you hear?
Well, I just missed the last part of what you said, but I didn't hear the beginning of it.
Okay, well, I'll read the whole thing to you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Emotional expression and interaction is essential to achieve a healthy state. Social interaction is also essential to a healthy state of being. So what are your thoughts with that?
Well, I agree. I agree, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying about the loner, the one who had no one to care for, didn't make it because he was an entity unto himself and didn't, have, like you said, have that relationship. So I think it kind of lends itself back to that he wasn't cared for, and he didn't care about, cared about himself. Well, I don't, and I'm not saying just a man, I'm just saying personality like that. So that follows right through on what you said. I agree. You have to have the relation, the last part of what you said. The last part of that sentence, I agree very much. Yeah.
And if you're a person who is in a relationship, and then, so they have that relationship, and then they have their social relationships, which are different. If you're by yourself, and you come home every night and you're by yourself, those social relationships take on a very different meaning in your life.
That's true.
That they are the ones that buoy you up when you're down and help you in your life. Where if you have somebody that you're with all the time, it tends to be that person, that
You're right.
caregiver that takes care of you. And depending on your life and your trust in yourself and your knowledge and all that, you can go from taking care of yourself really. I know single people that they are right on, everything is in order, they're just perfect, they have everything laid out, everything's good, and then other people that, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, and they're very worried about their life and worry about things. So, it kind of goes from one end to the other. So, so it's very different, I guess what I'm trying to say is relationships.
Now, don't confuse couples with relationships.
Well, I mean, I don't really mean it like, because there are couples that have terrible relationships. So yeah, you're right. I just mean
Well,
people
that was for everybody.
right.
Because
Pe-
first thing we go to when we say relationships is a couple.
is it-
So, go ahead, finish.
No, yeah, and I don't really mean couples, but I just mean like two people that are
You don't have
together.
to explain
Or,
yourself. I was just
okay.
clarifying
Okay.
that so
All right.
everybody would understand the
Sure.
rest of what you were going to say.
Right.
And I probably pushed it out of your mind.
No, I mean, I just kind of look at these, when you say social relationships, and I think about, okay, so I go to work every day and I have lots of social relationships with people. And they do build me up and, help me to get through the day if things aren't good or it's a good thing. I'd rather do that than sit alone and let thoughts, take over or be depressed or whatever, if I can. Not that that doesn't happen sometimes, because it sure does, but that type of life, living that life, I think that certainly gets you through the day a lot of times, so. As does that other relationship with people that are closer to you, just in general, so.
Just a different circle.
Right.
But she's I don't want to say the same thing, but has that important place in anybody's life. Whether it's a couple or it's a social relationship of, your sphere, your circle of friends, your circle of people that are like your family, they are like your family. We have our family, and then we have those who are like our family, and they all have that wonderful place in the scheme of it all. That's I don't know. That's kind of that's how I feel. I really am grateful for all the people in my life.
Good. What are your thoughts, Ken?
It all sounds good. Sharon and Sandy did a good job. There's nothing left to say.
They did. Thank
They
you.
did.
Absolutely true.
It's absolutely true.
So what are your thoughts, Beth?
Being a single, a loner, and not being a couple, don't discriminate against me. I get more social interaction about the beings that come into my realm that others can't see. I get satisfaction about those relationships. I have very close relationship with animals. And other than that, I am just dandy with the occasional smile and hello or crack a joke with a stranger in the grocery store. Last Sunday, I saw a little blurb on our neighborhood network about this lady who's had to go on disability, had to leave her house, had to leave her job, go into a little apartment. She had stored stuff in a friend's storage unit. Someone had broken in, destroyed didn't steal decorations, like she had a big Christmas decoration, but just tore them to pieces. So she was asking if people had things to donate. Lo and behold, what's in my basement? What have I been thinking of getting rid of for about 10 years now? So I am in hog heaven, going through all my decorations that are in boxes and lining them up and putting them in totes that I give away, and I send a message to this woman. She comes by in a day or two. She is so darn appreciative. I had to give her the backstory on every single one. This came from here, this came from here. I have no idea where this came from. And she was just giddy. And as she was putting these totes in her car, she said, "You are so kind." And I said, "You know what? I've never heard that from any of my family members. Thank you."
Aww.
Complete stranger.
See?
So,
Yeah.
angels among us.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What more of a relationship can you have? A better relationship can you have than that?
Right.
That'll last me for months.
Cool. How about you, Cindy? Any thoughts?
I have some thoughts, I know.
Just can't find them?
I think I have some. Well, that people that they just have this natural instinct to be nice, and then everybody says that we're born sinners, and I don't believe that, because if we were, if somebody was drowning in the lake, we would just sit back, not save them. But our first instinct is to go out and save them.
Good for you. We have two deep thoughts here today. Any thoughts, Ray?
Well, I'm struggling a little bit. I kind of like Beth's story, but we're talking about relationships, but it should be innate in us that when we talk about the group, how big is the group? Is it your kin? Is it your neighborhood? Is it your nation? Beth was moved by, she was moved to do something good, and the recipient was very appreciative of what she did. It's easy to be gracious to those you know, or those that you are bonded to by blood, or it's not as easy to, I guess, back to the child and the adult, it's not as easy to have that same selflessness as the group gets larger. But I think we have to do that. This mess we're in right now is, we're not even talking to each other. We're yelling at each other. And somehow that individual experience you had has to become universal. And I get there.
I don't either. I wish I knew. But I do know this. Everything starts from a point. And we are the points. We are the points. The thing is, as the group gets larger, a lot of times we feel lost. And the reason we feel lost is because we feel as though we've lost our identity. And that's an important thing to us. Our self-identity, who we are. It's who we are to ourselves and who we are in relationship to others. And it's the interaction. It's the interactions that connect us. We can go out and we can sit amongst a crowd and call it socializing. Oh, I socialize, I go out all the time. But what is the quality of your interaction? Because if your interactions are not meaningful to you, then they're utterly worthless. And I think that's what will help us get to where Ray was asking. How do we get to the larger part? It's the quality of how you interact with others. Does that make sense? Last chance, Ken.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Then I'm going to close with this. Nature survives by sharing. Nature is based on maintaining harmony and cooperation between participants is essential. And thank you for participating in this, and thank you for allowing me to bring this to you.
Thanks for the lesson, another good discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
So, how about a little bit of music?